you are all in for an amazing treat. With me this morning is Miss Carol Love, who is a teacher at Loma Terrace Elementary School, but that's not the half of it. Miss Love has been with us and in the classroom with her children, her family, for almost 50 years. And when I say Mrs. Love, you couldn't find a more perfect name for this teacher. Everything she does is because she loves her job, she loves her children, she loves family. And without further ado, let me introduce you to Miss Love. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's quite the honor.
The honor is ours. I can't even imagine. In 1977, when you started your career, I graduated from 8th grade, and my family was super happy. My parents, even though it was only 8th grade, I didn't know whether to be offended or was this not supposed to happen. But when you told me that you started in 77, I can vividly remember my little 8th grade graduation, or the little ceremony we had. Before we talk about you going into the classroom, tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your family, and where you found the love of teaching and learning.
Well, we moved to El Paso from Mount Pleasant, Texas in 1956. I was 2 years old. And then my dad had a job at El Paso Natural Gas Company as an accountant. And my mom was a homemaker. During those times, it was mom's job to stay at home and take care of the family. So that's what she did. And then when I went to Newman Elementary, Terrace Hills Middle School, and Andrews High School in the El Paso district. And when I was in high school, I was in marching band, and that is the band director there, Mr. John Bailey, was one who got me interested in teaching. He taught so many things as far as accountability and responsibility and work ethic. And so he was one of my inspirations. And then also in elementary school, Mrs. Zelda Pendergrass, whom when I got Teacher of the Year in 1819, we became friends on Facebook. And so we've had a little bit of communication going still. But she was one teacher she was my 4th grade teacher. She let the little newbie band students come in and play and squeak and squawk every afternoon after school. And so now looking back on that, I think, oh, what patience she had. And she is one teacher that I also accredit my love for teaching. They both were just tremendous inspirations to me. And so then from high school, when I graduated from high school, I went to McMurray College in Abilene, Texas. And my mom said, I can't go back into an empty house. And so she began substituting. And she substituted at Loma Terrace. And so then when I graduated in May, fast forward a little bit, of 1977, school was still going on here, and I thought, oh, that will give me great opportunity to get some experience in the classroom by myself. And so I spent a lot of my substituting time at Loma Terrace. And so when I went to go interview at Valdespino with Mr. Fitzgerald, Mr. Thompson, the principal at Loma Terrace at the time, was there, and he said, Miss Vandiver, what grade do you want? And I said, oh, Mr. Thompson, nothing above 4th grade. So I went in and I had my interview, and then in a couple of weeks I got called and I was assigned to 4th grade, where I stayed for 28 years.
Wow. Now, just to clarify, you were not Teacher of the Year in 1819. You were Teacher of the Year, just for our listeners, 2018 and 2019.
That's right. I'm not quite that old.
So for those of you who didn't pick up on that, Miss Love has been in the classroom for almost 50 years, but She's been at Loma Terrace for every one of those years.
Yes,
And
sir.
earlier you told me 28 years in 4th grade, and then
About 10 years in 3rd grade. I have to do the math and add it all up, but I think about 10 years in 2nd grade, and then the remainder of the years have been in 1st grade, where I am currently.
now one of the things that that is obvious about Miss Love is she absolutely loves her children, and so she does some special things for them. One of them being, will you grab that little card that all of your children get and tell us a little bit about that?
Well, this is called Sweet Dreams, and I give this to my kids when they come for Meet the Teacher. And that's the last conversation we have, and I tell them, I need you to put this under your pillow on Sunday night, and then, or open it Sunday night and put it under the confetti inside under your pillow. And so it talks about how I know that they have jitters, but everything's going to be okay. And so then on Monday morning when they come in, I say, did you open your confetti? And they say, yes, Ms. Love, and they give me a big old hug. And so I said, I opened mine too because I still get jitters. And
It's
so
beautiful.
we have a little chuckle with it.
It's beautiful. And then these children also get something incredibly special, and this is a little bracelet that says first, right? And that the class is a family, and it has Love, Mrs. Love. And then finally, she doesn't want to leave the parents out. Tell us a little bit about the apple.
Okay, so the apple is something because it's always been said that the parents are their child's first teacher. And so it says an apple for the teacher is really nothing new, but when you remember parents are teachers too. And so the parents are always thrilled to be remembered at parent night.
Yeah.
And so they march out with their little apple.
Yeah, it's just incredible, all of the little things that make such a big difference, and that I think quickly establish, that the parent and the teacher are partners in this, and that all of them constitute a family, an extended family. What was it like back at Loma Terrace? I'm wondering whether or not was it considered a new school? I mean, the building, the facilities, and what were the expectations? Because the high-stakes, nerve-wracking accountability hadn't quite arrived.
Oh, no, sir, it had not arrived at all. So when I first started teaching, we were given a set of books for each subject. They were hardback books, and we started at page 1 and just continued until we got to the end of the year. And where we ended up is where we ended up. There were no objectives to be...
No teaks?
No teaks. We didn't even have the TAS test at that time.
Right.
So
the parents just trusted you intuitively to take care of the children and teach them the fundamentals. No
did.
calculators, no computers, class size back in the 70s.
I started out with 34 fourth graders.
Yeah, I remember elementary school was not class size reduction. It wasn't a 20-to-1 ratio. You could have 34, 36, 38 students at any given time.
I had 34 students pretty much from the time I started until...
Every year, until
year.
things changed at the legislative level. How old were you?
I walked into Loma Terrace at 22 years old.
Wow. That's amazing. Who's the first principal that you worked for?
Mr. James Thompson.
And he's the one that said, what do you want to teach?
He's the one that said, what do you want to teach? And I had the privilege of having lunch with him about 5 years ago. And I was able to thank him for giving me the opportunity and believing in me.
Wow. And they were right. They were right. They made a great choice.
I've had great administrators along the way who have challenged me, as well as our superintendents along the way who have also set that challenge. And I'm one that I like to take a challenge and run with it.
And one of the things that I've always admired about you is you are quick to give a lot of credit to those around you, to your colleagues. You refer to them as family as well, peers who help one another, support one another. You tend to redirect the attention to the team.
I can't do it by myself. And that's why I also include parents. I start out with a letter. When I send it home on the first day, we're a team. And thank you for joining my team. And it goes back to it takes a village.
Do you have any students who became celebrities? I mean, after 47, 48 years, that is, I'm assuming, thousands of students who you have touched and who you have helped shape their lives.
I can't think of any celebrities, but I do have some colleagues within the district who are teachers who have jobs here at central office. And I have said before, that is my greatest pride is the ones who go on to become educators in the field.
Monica told me she was a celebrity.
Yes, she does.
Monica Bustillos was one of your students back in 4th grade. A lot of energy. Needed some redirection, I assume.
No, sir. She was one of my top students.
She always has been. Highlights over that unbelievable career that stand out, and then we'll talk about times where the world in education was a little in turmoil or change was imminent.
I think some of the highlights was when I did become Teacher of the Year. I never would have dreamt in 1,000 years that would have ever happened. And that, too, also set me out of my box. When I had to give a speech in front of a room full of superintendents and administrators and fellow teachers of the year. That was a little unnerving, but we all forged through.
Yeah.
And so that was a top highlight. Some of the other highlights are when kids come back and they say, Ms. Love, you're still here? And I remember when I was in your class, and even the parents, when they come back and they say, Ms. Love, I want my child to be in your class. And so those are just wonderful moments.
I was going to ask, you probably see a lot of your former students walk up to the front office to enroll their children, and a lot of it, their request to have you as their child's teacher is probably the highest form of validation and praise.
It is.
And it's got to make you incredibly proud. We talked a little earlier about the day when they wheeled in that funny little box into the classroom, the computer, back in the 80s, I assume?
I would say so. The years run together for me, but I think so. But I can see it vividly. It was a little egg computer, and it was the first Apple. And so we started out with one in the classroom, and then later years we had 2 and 3. And now just look at it, 1-to-1 computers for the kids. It's amazing. The
kids, the teachers, and it really helped us when the unexpected happened, the pandemic, where even those teachers, and there were some teachers who rightfully so were toward the end of their career, who felt like making too much of an investment in mastering the computer wasn't necessary because they could see that in a couple of years or in a year they were going to retire and enter a new chapter in their life. And then all of a sudden it wasn't an option. And those that felt really comfortable with technology jumped right in there, and those that didn't learned very quickly. What was that like?
I was one who had to learn very quickly. I'll be real honest. But it taught me to do so many things. I remember one afternoon in my backyard, right after we had not been allowed to go back to school, I thought, what positive can come from this? And so I thought, you know what? It's got to be the technology that we're going to have to learn. And we learned on the spot. It has allowed me to do so many things. I loved doing using the computer and teaching from home. I would make slides for my kids, and we would have our guided reading groups with slides, and it was amazing.
Do you find that today's student, today's child, is drastically different than children in the 70s, 80s? And more importantly, are the parents different than parents in the 70s and 80s?
It is quite a bit different. The kids were used to being at home and maybe a little more unattended than in years past, but we're all making it work.
And the parents, are they as supportive as they were early in your career?
This year I have a tremendous set of parents. I have a class of 20 this year. I had 20 parents for parent night.
Wow.
I was amazed and thrilled at the same time.
That says a lot. You are 2 years away from the golden 50, and we're not going to put a timeline on you, because you told me that you'll stop teaching when it no longer is fun, when you no longer enjoy it, if you happen to get bored. So 50 really may mean nothing. You may burn right through 50, and here we go.
I may. We'll see.
What do you do for fun when you're not teaching?
When I'm not teaching, I don't know. Teaching is in my bones, so it's really hard. But I like to work out in my backyard a lot. I love flowers. My husband and I go down to the nursery in the valley quite a bit, and he knows that on our way home we've got to stop by or go by Loma Terrace. And I laugh with him and I tell him, they don't know it, but I'm their personal security.
Yeah. Without being asked.
Without being asked. And so we go by Loma Terrace, because I also met my husband at Loma Terrace.
Really?
I did.
Another teacher?
He was a sixth grade teacher. And so he said, will you marry me? And I said, if you move schools.
Oh, he had to leave Loma Terrace so that you could focus.
We could not teach together.
Ah. And elementary school teacher, sixth grade. Did he retire?
He did retire.
You let him retire?
He's a little bit older than I am.
So it sounds like you live in the district.
I do.
Do you live in the Loma Terrace attendance area?
I do not.
Okay.
But I feel like that community is very much my family.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it one day, and that area is the area where I have spent the longest amount of time. I am very thrilled that we do have Loma Terrace, and that it was remodeled rather than torn down, because we still have the Loma Terrace name.
Yes.
And Loma Terrace will always be Loma Terrace to me. Not only that, but when Mr. McIntyre first came to Loma Terrace and we were talking about reconstruction and that kind of thing, he said, Ms. Love, will you go show me which one is your dad's tree? And so I took him out there and showed him, because one of my last years in fourth grade, a little girl, Ruth Martinez, gave me a little sapling, and she said, Ms. Love, this is in your dad's memory. And it was just a little tiny pine tree. And at the time, Mr. Dale Skinner was principal there. And he said, Ms. Love, we're going to go plant that in front of the school. And so my class at the time got together in a circle. Ms. Donaldson, who was like our reading specialist at the time, was out there, and we had the custodian plant it, and it's still standing, and it towers above the building.
Really?
And that was 24 years ago. The year my dad died in 2000.
The next time I come out, I'm going to find you and I'm going to have you show me which one is your dad's tree. Now, you have a new addition to the Love family. Tell us a little bit about that.
We do. We waited a long time for Eleanor Grace Smith to come, and she is the light of my life. And many people at Loma Terrace said, "Oh, Miss Love, you're going to retire." But my daughter is in Midland, and so it's not the same as if she was here in El Paso. So why not just keep on doing what I love? And then when we have breaks, I can go see my other love. And so we waited a long time for her. My daughter is a teacher in Midland, Texas. She was one, and I can still see it. We were in my classroom, and she said, "Mom, I'm never going to be a teacher." Because it was during the summer, and I was setting up my room like I do every summer, and she just thought that wasn't fun.
Not in the summer.
And so she is a teacher. She's been a teacher for about 10 years. Now she's also not only a teacher, but she's coaching other teachers.
Wonderful. I'm going to send her an edible arrangement because she's decided to stay in Midland and not come and tempt you here in El Paso with that little granddaughter of yours. Well, it's just been wonderful getting to know you, and I'm just so impressed, and I admire you because the level of energy and the level of commitment is so rare, especially when I'm assuming you've met the rule of 80 for TRS purposes.
Oh, quite.
A decade or so ago.
I am like at 110% for my retirement, so.
Wow. Well, we wish you nothing but the best in your current role. We want you to stay forever, but if the day ever comes, we're going to make it special for you. You've done so much for so many kids, so many families. As you know, when somebody breaks that cycle of poverty, when they're in families that maybe education wasn't afforded to them, but when that first child, because of experiences that people like yourself and our teachers provide, they get that first degree, and then all of a sudden their family and families in the future are affected for the better forever. And to think, when we get to 50, that's being directed to Midland, when we get to 50, gosh, I'm trying to think of what 25 or 34 times 50 is. It's a huge impact you've had on this community and on this school district. You're, I'm sure, just super proud of all of the wonderful people you've had a chance to work with.
I am extremely proud. It's been awesome seeing some of the teachers who are very well-seasoned teachers at this point. They came in just like I started, 22 years old, wet behind the ears, green, and they have become accomplished teachers themselves.
Absolutely.
And then the administrators and the support that I'm given, administrators, and even here at Central Office, when their pandemic was going I knew that Ysleta ISD would take care of its teachers.
We've never in this district given a 50-year pin to anybody. We've never bought a 50-year pin. And the only person that I'm aware of that worked in the district for 50 years, and I think it was actually 51 or 52, is J.M. Hanks, who I assume was your first superintendent when you joined the district. 52 years. I'm not likely to topple that.
I don't think I will either, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah, you got him.
Would you do the honors of giving me my 50-year pin?
I will, absolutely, and I will do it in the appropriate venue with all of the right people in the room, because that is, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, extraordinary and remarkable, just like you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in this morning. Just the minute I thought about this podcast, I thought, I know for certain one person that's going to come in and tell us a little bit about her career, her life, her story. Thank you, Miss Love.
I love teaching, and it's just in my bones, like I said earlier.
I see it. The energies, if you haven't seen it, call me. I'll take you for a little visit, and you can watch it in action. Thank y'all.